Welcome back to Passing Time with Craig. As always, I'm your host, Craig, and today I'm joined once again. This is her second appearance on the pod. It is Serene. Hello, MBZ.
Hello. Thanks for having me back.
Thank you for coming back. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
So last time you were on, we reviewed Tu Wong Fu.
Yep.
Thanks for everything. Love, Julie Newmar. And I think we both ended that it held up. It wasn't too offensive.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it held up. Wasn't too offensive. I think it could be released again today and still do well with maybe some minor changes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're back at it. We want to chat. Calgary Pride is here. So we wanted to chat about another film, do another one. And this time we are going with 1999. I didn't realize it was that time. 1999, But I'm a Cheerleader. Mm-hmm. Directed by Jamie Babbitt, screenplay by Brian Wayne Peterson, starring Natasha Lyonne.
Yeah.
So when was the last time you saw this movie?
I would have to say probably like my mid-20s or so.
Okay.
Maybe mid to late 20s.
Yeah.
I saw it for the first time earlier than that because when it came out, I was maybe 13 or 14. And I didn't see it when it first came out, but I probably saw it, grade 12, just after high school, and then a couple more times in my 20s. So this was my first time watching it in over 10 years, I'd say.
Yeah, okay. So over 10 years. And it was funny because I said, what if we do this film? And you were instantly like, yes.
Yes, because I remember loving it every time I watched it.
Okay, so we're going to dive right into it. We're going to go into it. But your first initial thought watching it for the first time in like 10 years?
Well, my very first thought was, we're doing yet another movie with a RuPaul cameo.
Yes.
Because RuPaul was in Tu Wong Fu. So I'm kind of liking this theme.
Oh, yeah.
RuPaul definitely had a more prominent role in this one. But first impressions watching this, I loved it. I thought it was so good. It is like, when I think of queer camp movies, this definitely comes to the front of my mind.
Oh, yeah.
I know we'll talk about whether or not it held up and all that, but my experience I watched it last night. I really enjoyed it again.
Yeah, so I watched it on Wednesday, and I watched it on Tubi. I don't know where you watched it. But
Apple TV told me that it's streaming on CTV's app.
Oh,
so
okay.
I watched it there.
Okay, perfect. So CTV has free movies on there, and Tubi is also free. So like you can go and watch this for free right now.
For free, yeah. You have to put up with a few ads, but it's worth it.
It wasn't too bad, I found. So it was. It's been several years since I last saw it. I do remember watching it young. And like, am I supposed to watch this? It's an interesting film. Natasha Lyonne, great actress. But this is unlike anything else she's ever done. She's not the good girl.
No, she played, and this was one of her first, like, big roles, I'd say. Or maybe it became a breakout role after, because this film didn't really gain kind of the status and the following it has now until many, many years after, as do a lot of queer films. But
I believe I was reading about it. Not great reviews when it first came out.
No, like all the big critics, like the straight white men that reviewed it, hated it, but they just didn't get it,
Yeah.
But no, Natasha Lyonne, this was one of her breakthrough roles. I believe before this she was in American Pie, or it was the same year.
I think it was the same year for American Pie. She was.
She was in Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Pee-wee's Playhouse.
R.I.P. Paul Rubin.
Yes. And she was also in like Slums of Beverly Hills or something. Let me get this right here. Slums of Beverly Hills was 98. So a year before. But still, like, that wasn't...
Not really well known either at that time.
I do want to point out, while we're talking about, like, reviews and critics and everything, it's 6.8 on IMDb and 43% Rotten Tomatoes.
That's rough.
Yeah. But again, as we said, especially 1999, we're looking at straight white males.
Yeah, and I think that 43% is probably a lot higher now. I bet you if there was a Rotten Tomatoes when it came out, or maybe Rotten Tomatoes was around, I'm not sure, it would have been, like, in the 10% range.
Oh, yeah. Oh, 100%.
It was not liked at all when it came out. And I truly believe it's just you didn't get it. Like, you didn't get camp.
Yeah.
You didn't get that it was satire.
Yeah. And also, interesting stuff I was reading about as after I watched the movie again, it was originally NC-17. And so they did some edits, but also they, like, the director fought because she's like, it's just because it's queer people? Like, because I don't know what the NC-17 rating would have, like, version of that movie would have been, but I'm assuming 1999, just the fact that there's several same-sex kisses.
Yeah,
like,
there's no like sex scenes except
No.
for that really awkward ending.
oh my goodness, right?
But no, there's no. I think with American ratings, especially, it's how many f-bombs, how many times they say "fuck" in the movie. So I bet you they edited out a few of those to get it down.
Yeah.
But that's a shame that it was NC-17 because that would have alienated like a huge part of its audience.
Tons of it. But yeah, so okay, so you've brought this up. It is camp. We know this. They intended it to be this way. I had to look. The director, as I said, she is a lesbian, and the screenwriter is a gay male. Because I like to, when it comes to these movies, I'm like, okay, who's behind the scenes? Who's making these? And so they're both queer folks. And I guess he does have some experience with some conversion camps. So, yeah, I love the aesthetics. Like,
It's giving Dr. Seuss.
oh, it's so Dr. Seuss. Or like a brighter version of Tim Burton. Like, Tim Burton has like that look to it, but it's always so dark and gloomy. Whereas this is like just the brightest pinks and the brightest blues. And
And like the set decor is just so like dollhouse in a way.
Yes.
I guess it's interesting because in the beginning of the movie, the story starts off with Natasha Lyonne's character. What's her name? Megan?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not really realize, like, she has no idea she's queer, but everyone in her life does.
Yeah.
And they've set up this intervention to send her to conversion camp.
Okay, can we talk about this intervention real quick? I made notes because my favorite, I laughed so hard. Their reasonings for it. Melissa Etheridge.
Yes.
The pillow with a vagina.
Yeah, like the labias all over the pillow.
Yeah. But my absolute favorite was you're trying to get us to eat tofu.
Yeah, being a vegetarian
Yeah.
makes you queer. It's like, oh, you're doing something ethical. Good. You're gay.
Yeah. I paused and laughed because I totally forgot about that intervention scene.
You know what? I truly forgot the first like 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
Everything I remember about the movie is the conversion camp scenes.
Yeah.
So, but it was interesting because it was only like, they just do that intro just to kind of set up where you're at in the movie, but it's really like the first 5 minutes of the movie and that's it. And what I was saying about the set is it's interesting, like all her friends, her friend that, what's her name plays her? Michelle Williams?
Michelle Williams. Yeah.
Her friend that rats her out, her
Yeah.
boyfriend, her parents, their house, everything is brown. All the straight people, their color tones or their clothing,
Oh,
the
yeah.
house, all brown, neutral, boring. And then all the queer characters are, even outside of their conversion camp attire, they're just like, bold.
Yeah. So yeah, Michelle Williams, this would have been several years into Dawson's Creek at this point.
Okay.
She's definitely not this Academy Award nominated actress by any means at this point, but she's on one of the biggest teen shows at the moment, and she has a very small role in it. But Dawson's Creek also had Jack. We had a gay character on it, but so we got her. What's his name? Eddie Cibrian or whatever his name is.
Oh, I don't know his name.
Who's like the son of the great
Rock.
Kathy Moriarty. She's fantastic. She's always been that.
You know what's funny? And this is what I realized watching it this time around. In my mind, that character was always played by Kathleen Turner, and I don't know why I remembered her as Kathleen Turner.
Because you can kind of interchange them. They have that raspy voice, and they play these strong characters. But yeah, I 100% can see why
you can see Kathleen Turner in that role. So when I was watching yesterday, I'm like, that's not Kathleen Turner, and it's like another queer icon, of course. But yeah,
And RuPaul would have been pretty big at this point. I already had a VH1 talk show.
RuPaul was huge at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd say like those are kind of your biggest gets, because Clea Duvall was not anywhere near.
She was, I would say, the most famous of the cast though at the
Yeah.
time, because I think before this movie she was in Dangerous Minds, she was in Buffy, Can't Hardly Wait, The Faculty, which was
Oh, okay,
huge.
yeah.
She's all that.
Oh, yeah.
Girl Interrupted.
So she has been in a lot of
she
stuff.
like I think this was like peak Clea Duvall
Yeah.
in teen movies.
And then Melanie Linsky, who was really new to American audiences and would not become what she is now.
Yeah.
And then we have...
Before this, Melanie Linsky was in Heavenly Creatures, which is also a bit of a cult.
Yeah.
Has a bit of a cult following now, and that was directed by Peter Jackson, weirdly.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why she got this role, is because they saw her and that it was like, we want her. And then you have Sunshine from Rain, Remember the Titans.
Yes,
I was like, I don't know your name. I was like, it's Sunshine.
Yeah.
I was like, and you're gay in this movie.
Yeah.
And Rufio.
Rufio.
I didn't realize it until we were chatting about doing this movie and you mentioned Rufio. I was like, oh my God, Rufio is in it.
That is someone I clocked right the first time I watched this movie. Like, oh, that's Rufio.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So I've always remembered him being in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have a mix of some stars and a mix of
Yeah.
kind of nobodies. It's different when we look at our last film we did, Tu Wong Fu, where we had major stars right off the get-go, and you even had cameos by Robin Williams,
Yeah.
but it was starring Patrick Swayze and Wesley Snipes and Stockard Channing, and now again bigger people nowadays, like you think of Russian Doll and Poker Face and everything Natasha's done
Orange
since
is the New Black.
Orange is the
Probably,
New
yeah.
Black. Clea Duvall's become an amazing writer and director as well.
I mean, one of my favorite roles of hers has to be Veep.
Oh my goodness, yes. I've been talking about so much about Veep lately because, first of all, I'm just very excited and happy and looking. This is the first time I felt optimistic about the U.S. states.
It's strange how it's playing out exactly like Veep, though.
It is. It is so weird, but like, if it just means that I get to see more clips on TikTok and Instagram about Julia Louis-Dreyfus in one of the best performances to ever exist. She's the worst character, but
It's her best performance of her career.
oh,
It's gotta be.
100%. It's so good.
Yeah. All this like U.S. political news is making me want to rewatch Veep for like
Yeah.
the 10th time, but yeah. Clea Duvall was a star in that one, and I thought that was one of her better roles for
Yeah,
sure.
she's so good in it. She does such a great job. And that's what's great about Clea Duvall is that she is very versatile because she's in that one in Veep. She's very, it's very straight and it's very dry,
She's queer in that one as
and
well.
she's queer in that one. Whereas this one, she's that sarcastic badass bitch that we like kind of associate her more, especially in the 90s. Because she was, I still remember her being the bitch, and she's all that.
She told the character to kill herself.
Yeah.
Gagged. That's horrible.
Oh, we might have to do a 90s teen series. Like,
Just Clea Duvall.
yeah, maybe we just do that. So, okay, so yeah, it's great cast. I think everybody does a fantastic job in it. What I thought there was more in my mind. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. But in my mind, I thought there was bigger jokes.
Okay.
Where, like in my mind, I thought that and I felt like this rewatch that there were jokes, but I thought it was gonna really crank the campiness up even further.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it is with like when the parents and Kathy Moriarty, like she does it, but I feel like the kids at the camp aren't as like campiness as you could, except for the montage with RuPaul teaching the boys.
I was gonna say, what are you talking about, Craig? I remember the scene, the montage of them trying to be men, and like what were the values he was teaching: repairing cars, chopping wood, and war.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one of my favorite scenes, and it's very high camp, and I thought it was very comedy in your face or like over the top joke, is they're doing a little montage and they're pretending to go to war, and they pop up over the hill in the Charlie's Angels.
Yeah.
And these are the boys, like very, very gay boys.
My favorite joke, I think, and he laughed really hard, was when the one goes to chop the wood, and then like the axe goes flying, and they all like
scattered.
Yeah. So I think it's definitely the boys got the camp elevated, and it's almost as if like they were trying to make the like Natasha and Clea's like story more grounded. I don't know. I thought it was going to be more campier, but with everything with the boys was just as camp as freaking could be. Like,
Yeah.
And then Rocky, just like RuPaul and Rocky just having this.
I like, kind of forgot about that. It wasn't even a storyline. It was just like a running, they were making eyes at each other the whole movie kind of thing. But I forgot about that old sideline. I just remember RuPaul being this very straight dude. And like, of course, we know he's gay. He even said, I used to be a gay.
Yeah.
But I completely forgot that he was just making eyes with the sun the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. And very interesting, very entertaining. I think they did a great job. I think, there's a few of the campers that really didn't get too much to do, but everybody who was in it really brought their A game. And I thought that, the cast was fantastic. What were your thoughts on the overall story of like Natasha's story and Clay's story and how that shaped out? And then
I mean, I think it's pretty predictable. Like, you knew that was going to be the love interest. They were going to, fall for each other and then run away together in the end. And that's exactly how it played out. They were both kind of, everybody in the movie is an archetype or a stereotype of a queer character. And that's the point. That was the whole satire behind it all. And I think that's what a lot of the critics missed, or a lot of people who saw it in the 90s missed the first time around.
Yeah.
But I thought their story was cute. Well done.
I really liked, what was the one character's name? And she was like, I'm not a lesbian.
Jan.
Yeah. Yes, that's it.
That was so funny because the movie it's interesting. It's a queer movie. It's about lesbians. It's about gay boys.
Yeah.
But it does a lot of heavy lifting in that it tries to unpack, gender identity, sexual orientation, gender roles, and heteronormative behaviors in society at the time. Jan was this very butch, very masculine looking woman.
Yeah.
Who loved to play softball, and these are just tropes. And she had a really painful outing as a straight person at conversion camp because she's like, I'm not gay.
Yeah.
And looking back now, Melanie Linsky's character, when they were kind of doing a fitting, one of the montages where the girls are doing a fitting, she reaches over and touches Jan's breast.
Yeah.
Which must have been so uncomfortable for poor Jan. She's like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
I'm being assaulted.
I'm being assaulted. Yeah. I found that very interesting, that storyline, because it was I completely forgot about it.
Yeah.
Till she has that moment.
That's the movie challenging heteronormative roles as well. It's you can be a super mask woman and still just like dicks, like dudes.
Yeah. That I think alone right now is very relevant after the Olympics.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, we don't know anything about the whole what's her name? Aman Khalif that we were talking about.
Yeah.
Her sexuality aside, just the whole rigmarole she went through, just trying to compete in something she's been doing her whole life. She loves, and she has been in the Olympics before. She was in Tokyo 2020 and no one said shit. So.
No, this time though. And so I found it very interesting. She was literally in my mind as I was watching that scene play out, because it's just and I don't know her sexuality, but they're both female identifying and born as females, and they view themselves as that way. But society's
telling them, no, you're not.
Yeah, look at you.
Yeah.
You're no. So, so all the campers, some of them didn't really have too much storylines. Melanie kind of had her thing where she, sexually assaulted her.
Yeah.
And then we have the goth girl who liked Clay Duvall, but I don't know.
Yeah, that was also, I don't know what they were doing with those characters. They were just kind of relief, I guess, for the rest of the story. But did they she graduated, and Melanie Linsky's character?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they went through all the way and said, yeah, I'm straight.
Yeah.
In the end.
Yeah, and then we had our I really liked, my favorite was the guy who threw the axe. And
Andre.
Yeah, Andre, when he was like, I'm gay, like, and then the other guy was like trying to like tell him like, it's fine, like you are like who you are, accepted, you're great, you're fantastic, you're sexy and everything. It's just like, I'm a conversion camp. That's one of my other favorite moments.
I think Andre had some of the best lines. I wrote a couple down that made me laugh. Oh, they were just, I don't know, I think they're in their circle talking about their root or whatever, and he's like, oh, I just wasn't meant to be a butch.
Yeah.
And then later on, they were still, I think he's one of the characters that didn't know what his root was. And the root, for context, is basically when they sit around the circle and try to talk about, you know, your root is when you realized you were gay, or like what turned you gay.
Yeah.
And one of his, he couldn't figure it out, and he's like, well, shit, Mary, I guess I'm the only one who don't got no root. And Mary says, oh, we don't use profanity or double negatives here.
Yeah. One of my other ones that I loved is that, oh, you're 17, Megan, that's good. We get you before college and the liberal arts brainwashing. And I was like, again, what year is this?
Yeah.
Like, this could be nowadays.
This could be now, yeah.
Yeah. The root was I really enjoyed that. And it's like, oh, well, my mom had to go to work for a little bit. Well, there you go.
That's why you're gay.
Yeah.
Or Clea Duvall's character, Graham, her root was her mom got married in pants.
Yeah, there was a lot of, great little, like, and I always appreciate those types of jokes even better because they're so much more throwaway lines. Mm-hmm. And I think they're that much funnier when they don't let the audience a chance to be like, wait.
I think that's what I still enjoyed it for all the things I do remember, but there were so many lines where I'm like, I don't, like, this is funny. And I probably thought it was funny then, but I didn't catch it. So.
Yeah. Also, I made a note because I just enjoyed the fact that the bar was called Cocksucker.
Yeah. Somebody, I can't remember who. Well, it was one of the boys, but they were going to the bar or something like that, and one of them was like, well, my cocksucking days are over. And they were talking about going to the cocksuckers bar. Which, okay, this movie was set in California, right?
I believe so, yeah.
That was the saddest gay bar I have ever seen. Yeah. And, like, this is California in the late 90s. Like, it was not an underground thing.
Yeah, no.
And that was one of the worst gay bars. Like, they were slow dancing to techno. It looked like a dive. And I'm not against dive bars. I think dive bars are great.
Dive bars are great.
And there are wonderful gay dive bars, but, like, that was just one of the worst gay bars.
Yeah.
That was unrealistic depiction of queer culture in California.
It definitely is not realistic. And I did actually find that very interesting, too, for this movie where, again, we chatted about campiness. We chatted about the aesthetics. It was so bright and everything. And the fact that they're going to a bar called Cocksuckers, and it was just kind of just your average bar. Like, it literally, like, the set decorator or, like, location scout was like, oh, frick, the place we chose fell through. Yeah. We're just going to this one right across the street right now.
That's exactly it. Like, if they were trying to make it look like this down low bar that was like this, queer bar in the middle of nowhere that you're not supposed to know it's queer, then I get it. But it was called Cocksuckers with a rainbow logo. Yeah. It's supposed to be a gay bar, and it was just a sad version.
Yeah, it was definitely a sad version of it.
I just couldn't get over the slow dancing to techno. I'm like, no.
No, not a fan of that.
No.
Were there any things that... So we haven't really chatted about this. What do you think, if anything, has not stood up? We're looking at 25 years. It just occurred to me. This is 25 years ago.
That's wild, yeah.
That's wild. Obviously, like, there was... One of the things that works for it is that there's really no technology in it, because that makes it not... Like, you instantly get put out of it. You can tell when this actually came out. But otherwise, did story-wise or jokes, do they hold up 25 years later?
Well, I think just, like, looking at the set design and all that alone, it's a bit disorienting because you're not really supposed to know when this is.
Yeah.
Like, we know it's occurring in 1999, but in the movie, it's not really clear because you start off looking, like, again, in Natasha's and Megan's home with her family. Like, that house is straight out of the 70s.
Yeah.
Their car is straight out of the 70s. You're in the middle of nowhere in California in this conversion camp, and then the conversion camp itself could be from any time and place. It's just so fucked up looking. So you're not really sure what year this is supposed to be, and I think that's done well. Like that's done the movie a great service in keeping it relevant and campy. Like movies that are still, you know, queer camp, like Rocky Horror Picture Show. You know that's set in like, what is it, the 70s?
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
Even in the music in this one is not quite. I think maybe Melissa Etheridge was a big tell.
Yeah.
Thinking about it.
Yeah.
But in terms of jokes, I thought they were all like above board. Nothing really super offensive that wouldn't hold up today.
Yeah.
And I think that is the result of the movie being written by queer people and acted by at least a couple queer characters. They did throw around the F slur a little too much for my taste, but that I think has also changed. Maybe it was a little more acceptable then, but I think what doesn't hold up is like lack of representation from like all the characters were white except for, or all the female, like the lesbian characters were white except for Jan. They don't even talk about it, but she's visibly not white.
Yeah.
And a couple of the male characters like Andre and Dolph Rufio, they're visibly not white, but all the characters are white, and there's no like these characters are lesbians or gay. They're not bisexual. There's no queer fluidity anything. So I think that if it were, you know, to be remade today, I think representation or some intersectionality would be more present.
Yeah. I will say, like, one of the things I was thinking about while I was rewatching and coming up with my notes is, and Jan would be a great, where maybe she is transgender and doesn't realize it, like, or like self-identify different things, or non-binary. But what I did notice with this movie, especially for 1999, which I really appreciate, that there was no transgender jokes, because I'm sure as we continue on this series and rewatching some of these, we're gonna watch these queer films and transgenders get made fun of.
Yeah.
Or they use terms that we don't, you know, like I was watching something the other day, and what was I watching? And they said something about like transvestite, and I was like, what?
It's jarring when you hear stuff like that, right? Like when they were saying the F word, I was like, whoa. And they said it like a few times at once, and I was like, whoa, it's like disorienting.
Yeah.
But yeah, with Jan, you're right. Her character, like they treated her as just a butch lesbian.
Yeah.
Whereas in today's society, you know, if she was competing in the Olympics, they would say you're clearly a man.
Yeah.
You were born a man, and you're, you know, trying to bamboozle us.
Yeah.
And they were just like, no, you're just very much a butch and you like women.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, I'm a butch, but I like dudes.
Yeah.
And that was like, again, that was her painful straight coming out.
Yeah. And I like that. I really like that they threw that in. Because again, like sometimes it's how it is. Like,
yeah. Well, that's, like I said, that's queer people writing queer movies. Because if a straight person wrote that, I'm sure that would have been a bit, maybe that character actually wouldn't have been in the movie at all.
We haven't really chatted about them, so I want to know your thoughts though. What do you think the performance, jokes, or anything of Megan's parents? Who the dad is apparently the kid from Harold and Maude.
I don't know that.
Oh, it's just like
it's old, right?
It's old, and it's a weird movie.
Okay,
It's like 18-year-old boy who starts a relationship with like a 60-year-old woman, and they both like death. I don't know. It's a weird.
Lord.
I watched it once. I was like, what the fuck am I watching? But the mom has been in a bunch of stuff, a lot of queer things, but she's also Charlie's mom on It's Always Sunny.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. I didn't clock that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I know, like, I wasn't, like, she looked familiar to me, and I wasn't sure if it was because of this movie, but I looked her up, and she's done specifically a lot of queer movies with John Waters, who is a queer icon.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. But their performance, I thought, was great. They were, you know, the sad straight parents, so, like, torn up that they just want to help their little daughter. And then, like, it's good.
I love the, like, post-credit, mid-credit scene where they're at the like, parents and friends of gay people's group. And
the support group, or conversion camp for them, I suppose.
And he's trying to chat, and she's just, like, had it, like...
Incognito.
Yeah.
No, I thought that scene, actually, you mentioned it earlier, when they go to visit Megan in the camp and they're trying to find Megan's route, and Mary's like, oh, obviously it's because your mom took on a, what did she say, like a domineering role when your dad lost his job. He's like, that was just 9 months. Yeah, and this is, again, the movie challenging all kinds of stereotypes.
Yeah.
Like, even in 1999, women worked and took care of households.
So you actually like you're making me think about some things. Like, does it take place in 1999?
I don't think we're meant to know when it takes place. Like, in my mind, it's just that because it's so ambiguous. I'm like, well, it came out in 99, so I'm just going to call it 99.
Yeah.
And like, for me, I'm anchoring Melissa Etheridge,
Yes.
the poster, because I'm like, that's very clearly a specific time.
That is a specific time. But even like, I think about when Megan's on the phone with her parents, like, I can't wait to meet you. But like, it is like an old, like, it's cordless, or no, it's got a cord, and it definitely looks like it's one of those, like, it might have a dial.
Yeah,
like,
but it's like a cartoon phone. Like, the receiver is the size of your hand. Like, it's massive.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe we're not supposed to know, but maybe it is 1999 because it's, I mean, look at how backwards some of the people are nowadays in 2024.
Yeah, truly. That's like the thing about this movie that I appreciate. It's like conversion camp is a really painful thing, and like it's real.
Yeah.
And I think I was reading like some of the history about the criticism it got when it came out, and a lot of the people were like, you know, conversion camps are not like that, or they're silly, and like they took the really painful, scary things like electroshock therapy, which happens at conversion camp. I don't know if it still does, but it definitely did. And they turned it into a joke. Like, that became the girls' vibrators when they're, you know, having impure thoughts about women. They would just use it to masturbate.
Yeah.
And that just like kind of, again, it's taking this really like kind of awful subject and turning it into satire and making it funny and digestible. And I think that's why it landed for a lot of queer folks, and maybe not so much for straight people. They were just like, or not, I don't want to say straight people, but just people who weren't in on the joke.
Yeah.
They're like, they just either took it too seriously, like this was fact, it's so exaggerated, and that's what camp is. It's exaggerated. It's like, you know, disruptive and gaudy in a tasteful way. And they just, they don't get camp.
Yeah, and if you watch this and you go, this is, you're laughing, you're like, this is ridiculous. You're like, yes, it is. It is. We should be laughing at it. But it's a real serious thing. And like, as someone who jokes about a lot of serious things and stuff I've gone through, it just is like, you should be laughing at it and going like, how the hell is this a thing?
Yeah. And like, even the classes, you know, they're putting these kids through, like, we talked about the men learning how to fix cars, and chop wood, and the women learning how to wash dishes and change diapers. I'm like, I bet you like that is not far off of what happens in conversion camps. Like, this is your role as a woman who's, you know, a heterosexual woman. This is your role, is to, you know, serve your man, be a good housewife. These are the skills you're going to need. I don't think they're like deliberately teaching chopping wood, but that's the joke.
Yeah. And
it's not like, it's saying, this is so ridiculous. This is how you look. This is how you sound.
Yeah. And what's so great about it too, and we don't really see it with Kathy's character, but you see it with RuPaul, where he just, the things he says, how he says it, when he's underneath that car,
oh God,
and the boys are just like touching each other and just like, and then he's like, who wants to, I forget exactly what he says, but he says it in such an inappropriate, dirty way, and they all like raise their hands. Like, because it's also, that's,
he says, oh, who wants to go down with me?
Yes. Because that's the other thing too, is that like straight people, or supposed straight people, trying to prove that they're straight. I've said this to a bunch of my friends who are like, I'm usually like one of the only gay people in the group, and I'm like, I'm the straightest person in the group because the shit they say, I like, that sounds too gay for me. Like, because that's how it goes. And so straight people really trying to showcase they're straight. I'm like,
yeah, it comes off very gay. It's full circle. Yeah.
But yeah, they don't really have that with the only time we really get like kind of a glimpse of it, and it's mostly just the designs of thing, is when the two of them are washing the dishes, and it's like the it's a flower, but it looks like a vagina.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
forever. They're just like working together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a movie. What are um what were things that you remembered that you thought in your mind was like some of your favorite scenes, and that you saw them again, you're like, yep, still good.
So much of the movie that sticks in my mind, and it's just because it's so visually specific, is for sure like the set. So the things I remember were scenes like the camp activities.
Yeah.
So like the war scene, I remember for sure, like learning how to shoot a gun, and then the little set design they had with the soldiers was even very gay. Like,
Yeah.
the scenes with the girls just learning how to be homemakers and make dresses. But I think what stands out, it's not those scenes specifically, but just like the decor and the
Yeah.
set and all of that stands out to me.
I think that's what really helps them, like, that film stick out and keep in your mind, is because it's visually one of those things where you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I've seen this before.
And I didn't notice how, like, I don't know what they were trying to do with Mary's character, but it was just weird. She had just weird scenes. One of them where Megan takes a phone call. She comes into the girls' room in the middle of the night with a flashlight, and she's like, Megan, your parents are on the phone. And maybe it's her voice. I'm like, oh, that was Kathleen Turner, I'm pretty sure.
100%.
And she goes to take the call in Mary's room for some reason, and Mary's very clearly in the shot.
Yes.
And she's just sitting with her like hair and rollers, tuning a guitar in the background. Like, what is she doing? What is this person's life? And then in another one, when the kids were seeking out to go to the Cocksuckers Club,
Yeah.
they show them running around the porch, around the house, and they're in Mary's room, and she kind of hears something, and she's in bed reading a book, and it's like a how-to for dummies book. And I was trying to pause and read like how to what for dummies, and I didn't see, but it was very clearly one of those books.
Yeah.
Like, I'm curious to know, like, I would like to see us, well, not now, obviously, but like, what is her backstory? We never got any info into that. And like, RuPaul's character is very clearly a former gay. And I'm like, were they trying to paint her? Is she also a former gay?
So my thought is it's because Rocky's clearly gay.
Right.
So that's why she's got it. But like,
They don't mention anything about her husband,
No,
or like
and-
her straight partner.
and so that's why, like, I would say the biggest fault of this movie, because she's such a great actress and she's so funny, is not enough of her.
Yeah.
I would have loved some more moments where she just, like you said, when she was like, we don't use profanity, we don't use
double
the
negatives.
double negatives. Like,
Yeah,
and
she just had so
we
many.
got you before the liberal brainwashing. Like,
I think a lot of the weird or one-liners that I probably didn't clock the first time around were definitely from her this time around. And I hear what you're saying about like wanting to know more about her, but I think that's also what plays into like the campiness and the weirdness of the movie. It's like, leave her, like, you know, she's doing weird shit in the background, but you don't need to know more than that.
and then when she makes them all picket signs outside.
Oh God, I was trying to remember what some of the signs said. They were bad.
They were so bad. There was a couple that was like, oh my goodness, like, is this why we got the NC-17?
Maybe actually, and I wonder what they cut.
Yeah. So then we had those two ex-gay gays, or whatever, ex gays.
XX gays.
Yeah.
I can't remember their names.
One of the actors is such a character actor and was in so many things all the time in the 80s and 90s.
I know, and I recognize his face, but I couldn't tell you what he's been in.
I think he was on Night Court. I'm gonna find this right now. Let's see. What's his name? Richard Mall.
Richard Mall.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he passed away last year.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
Yeah, he was in a bunch of little things. He was in the Flintstones live action, Casper Meets Wendy.
Well, that's probably where I know him from.
Yeah.
Flintstones. I loved that movie.
I love the Flintstones too. He was the ghost in Scary Movie 2. Yeah, he's been in so many things.
I'm still trying to look up these signs, but I'm not having luck.
Yeah, it was again, so even just like those characters, they had very small scenes, but like I think the only one who just didn't add anything to it was the girl that Megan dances with at the bar.
Apparently, that is like a famous French actress or singer or something.
Yeah, I saw that too, and I was like, and she looked kind of familiar, but I was like, I don't.
Yeah. I think it would like the purpose of her scene was to just set up Natasha being or Megan being jealous because Megan's character goes and dances with the French lady because she's like, hey, do you want to dance? Clea's like, yeah, why not? Go for it. So Megan dances with her. So then Clea dances with Sadie, who has a crush on her, the emo queer. And that makes Natasha jealous. And they go out back and have a conversation and then make out. And then they start dating from then on. So that was her role. Just creating conflict, I guess.
Yeah. What did you think about... We're in full spoilers, so people didn't realize this.
Oh, spoilers off the top. I think we're like an hour into this.
Yeah. I forgot about how, like, Megan was the one who leave first.
Yeah.
And she was like, no, I gotta try this, like...
Yeah, you're right.
And I found that very interesting. I was like, what?
Even rewatching now, I was just kind of expecting Graham, Clea Duvall's character, to take off and Megan go with her at some point. I knew they ended up together, but I guess I kind of forgot about that. But then watching, I'm like, well, of course, that's how it played out because she does the cheer for her in the end.
Yeah.
Which was corny, but adorable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We brought it back to the cheerleader thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was like,
I forgot about that entirely.
I was like, oh.
Did she actually say, but I'm a cheerleader in this movie?
I don't think she says but I'm pretty sure she says I'm a cheerleader. I believe she says that when they're trying to make her admit to being a lesbian when she gets there, because that's like the first step.
Yeah, yeah. And she just says I'm a cheerleader.
Yeah. I like the little like step one as they like put it on the screen so you know kind of what's going on there. All right, so it's been 25 years. Could this movie be made exactly the same way today?
Yeah. I think even without the representation and intersectionality, it could be made today.
Yeah. Maybe just a few more people of color as cast, but like...
Yeah, and better queer representation. Like I said, they were really only showing these characters as either lesbian, like lesbian women or gay men.
Yeah.
That like Dolph could have been bisexual easily.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think today it would be weird to just make it so black and white like that. I think we've kind of moved away from that binary thinking. I would hope so. I say that, but that's probably not true. But I think it could be made today as is.
Yeah.
Like that's why it holds up. Like I watched it last night and I enjoyed all of it.
Yeah. There was nothing that I cringed at. I feel like, whereas when we talked about Tu Wong Fu, there was a couple moments where like,
and like just the whole story, the way it played out. We don't need to get back into Tu Wong Fu. You can go listen to that episode.
Yeah.
Just
go listen to it.
Yeah. The way the story played out, I think could have been written better today. But in terms of writing but I'm not a cheerleader.
Yeah.
I think it can come out today.
Yeah. And I think you've brought this up. I mentioned it at the beginning, but you've reiterated a couple times now. It is a gay male who wrote it and a lesbian who directed it.
Yeah.
And that's
clear.
the key.
It's clear.
Yeah. Because if you don't have that, like, I'm sorry, like, you can be a great director, but if you have no connection to this, now, if you are a straight cisgender person, but like your sibling is queer or whatever it may be, like maybe then you can have this relation. But if you have nothing to it, like, I just don't like you can't like.
Yeah, I think like if you're gonna write specifically about these points of view, the way the movie is told, you have to have some of these lived experiences in order for it to come across authentically, and in order for it to stand the test of time. Like you said, this is 25 years later, and we're both kind of agreeing that you'd probably release this today as is. Yeah, and there wouldn't be all this, there wouldn't be a lot of drama around it.
No. Okay, so what would you rate this?
What's your scale?
Let's do out of 5.
I'm giving it a 4.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it. Like we've said it, I think the stories are still relevant. Conversion camps are still a thing. Straight people still think this way. Heteronormative tropes and stereotypes are still quite, they're very real and very damaging.
Yeah.
And I think this story was told, it was, I guess, a lot of these queer movies that we watched Tu Wong Fu and this one so far, they were ahead of their time in a lot of ways. So I give it a 4.5 out of 5. I'm giving it the half off because of the representation thing, but that's really the only flaw I can find with the movie. And even that is not, for me, not a huge deal.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd probably give it a 4 out of 5. I thought it was, I think it held up. You could definitely remake it completely today. I would like a little bit more representation and just tweaking some little things. I enjoyed that Rufio, and he's only being referred to as Rufio because
Forever Rufio. I don't even know what that guy's name is in real life. I don't want to know.
Yeah, because he was the only. Him and Jan have these. Like Jan was a great little storyline where, no, I just am butch, but I like men. Like, stop trying to make me this thing. And Rufio is the only, mentions he's a wrestler, like he's on the wrestling team and everything like that. He's an athlete. So just a little bit more, if we're going to remake it, that would be, again, changing things and making someone who isn't a stereotypical gay male and stereotypical lesbian, have those as well. But I think they did a great job. I'm so happy that it turned out how I had hoped it was going to be.
Yeah, I would have hated.
Were you going in nervous rewatching it?
A little bit, but like I said, I'd watched it in my 20s, and I remember, watching it at least once in my 20s or twice in my 20s, and never having that feeling or thought in my head that, oh, this movie was not good for these reasons. So I was a little nervous. I'm like, because it's been a while, but I'm relieved, I guess.
You're relieved.
Yeah.
You're relieved. I like it. All right, as we start to wrap up here, it's Calgary Pride.
Yes.
How are you celebrating Calgary Pride? What do you like to do for Pride?
Oh, I love I don't know why Calgary Pride is in September, but it's also kind of nice because a lot happens in Calgary in the summer. So it's a nice way to cap off your summer and kind of start fall. This specific Calgary Pride, I guess this is, I don't know when this is coming out, but on the 30th, I'm DJing. I'm doing a queer DJ night.
Oh, nice.
I'm doing a Pride party at Business and Pleasure.
Oh, love Business and Pleasure.
Yeah, so if you don't have your tickets, and if this is out before then,
this
you
will
should
be
come
out.
check it out.
Make sure this is out before then.
Check it out, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but normally, just love going to various Pride events. Obviously, the Old Bee Pride Party is my favorite in the city, and I'm so happy to hear that they're able to put it on thanks to Cole Garden. So
that's awesome.
When they announced that, I snatched my tickets up right away, so I'll be there for sure. And then I love checking out the Pride Parade. I love parades. I know they're full of, a bunch of people. There's a lot of rainbow capitalism happening in Pride parades, but I just love the spectacle of it all.
Yeah,
so.
I will say I love the parade. For the most part, I get to a point where I go tired because I'm just like, oh, it's been 2 hours of just watching a bunch of people.
Yes. Yeah.
This one is a Pride TD shirt. This one's a Pride WestJet shirt.
I agree. Like, I could do without all the corporations in it, but it's also kind of nice that it speaks to, like, these parades are so long, almost as long as the Stampede Parade, but that's how many people want to participate in it. And that's how many, like, not even just companies. Like, I don't want to see banks and politics in Pride parades, but a lot of folks, like, the streets are packed.
Yeah,
you have to go very early to get a spot for the Pride parade.
Yeah,
so it's great.
I was a little bit late this last year, but my sister and her kids and I managed to find a pretty decent spot, so it was good.
Yeah,
and like fairly early on too, so we didn't have to cause it's it says starts at this time, but if you're at the end, you're waiting another hour before you can get
easily.
So
but at least, like we said, it's kind of at the beginning of fall, so it's not too hot.
Yeah, that's good.
I didn't get to ask you a couple of questions about the movie.
Oh, asking some questions.
So
okay.
I wanted to know. I have one serious one and one fun one.
Okay, perfect.
What do you think? Because we talked about, there's a couple queer characters that we like. We know Clay Duvall's queer for sure. Of the boy characters, RuPaul for sure. I don't know. about the main characters, if any of them?
I was trying to look into it, and it didn't seem like anybody is.
So how do you feel about, straight people in life, straight actors playing queer characters?
So I've been thinking about this a lot over the past few years, especially as it's been coming up even more frequently. I'm okay with it to an extent. I think if you're a great actor, you should do it. You should be able to pull it off. What I get frustrated with is if their only thing is just a very cliche stereotype. That what really bothers me. And so, like, for example, Modern Family. Mitchell, Jesse Tyler Ferguson, is openly gay, queer. He's great. He's fantastic. And the guy who plays Cam, Eric Stone Street, is a straight male. Now, I don't know. They've got a great relationship and friendship, so I think but it bothers me that a straight male plays the more flamboyant, stereotypical cliche. I don't like that.
Yeah.
So if that's the only way you're going to perform as a gay character is just as a caricature, I don't think that's right. That's kind of my thoughts on it. But if you're just playing a character that happens to be gay or like lesbian, bisexual, I think if you can bring enough to it and make it seem real and you're not being a stereotype, then go for it.
I see what you're saying. I think with that specific example, like that suffers from like the writing more than the character, like the actor. For me, I think I don't really have a problem with straight people playing gay characters. I think it's a bit different for trans though.
Yes, I think we're at this point now we don't need to do that.
No, because a non-trans person playing a trans character kind of feeds this really damaging narrative that trans people are just dressing up in costume and that's not who they really are. They were born a man, so you can't dress up as a woman and call yourself a woman. So I think I don't care like straight people playing gay characters, but I think trans characters should be played by trans people for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think with the flamboyancy of what's his name in the show? Eric Stone Street's character. Cam. Yeah, I think that's a writing decision.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm not in the biz. I don't know how much say an actor would have in being like, I don't think I should be this person or that character.
Well, especially when you started off that way and then like it becomes a huge hit and they're like, well, people love this. I'm like, okay, I guess we got to do this.
Like, do I want to be recast or am I just going to do this? Yeah, I get that.
I will say, there's definitely, Modern Family, I finally like fully binged it. Like it's on Disney Plus and I was like, I've watched a bunch of episodes here and there and I finally binged it. There's a lot of boring episodes.
There's a lot of content there in general, so I can imagine there's a lot of filler. Like that show for me, I watched it here and there, like when it was airing on cable, back when cable was a thing. But I never really sat down and watched the whole thing all the way through, so I can't say I've seen it all. But I know there's a ton of seasons, so I can imagine there's a lot of filler.
Yeah.
All right, my other question, the fun one. For each other, who do you see, like, I'm going to say who I think you would be, like, which character is the Craig in the movie? And then you tell me who's the Zorine in the movie. So since I've had time to think about it, I will say I see you as Andre. And you're not like a flamboyant guy, but the reason I picked him is of all the gay male characters, he was the most authentic with himself, and he was the most like, I'll do this shit, but this isn't who I am. And he was, through all the activities, everything, he was just very much just being himself and being very authentic, and that reminds me of you. So
thank you.
I
will take that because he's got so many great lines and great moments,
and he was the only boy to go to the gay bar, and Craig's gonna be the guy to roll up with the lesbians to the gay bar.
And exactly, I would be going with the lesbians. I'm like, let's hang out. I know, I will take that. I think you have some Graham, some Clay Duvall.
Honored. Clay Duvall is my root.
Because, I get that. I feel like that's for a lot of people. I think just because, like, you are super cool and she was definitely the coolest person there. And yeah, no, I just, as soon as you asked her, I was like, I think it's Graham. Like, I think it has to be. Like, you just have you're a lot, like, I don't feel like with Graham, you had to warm up to her. I don't feel that way with you. But once you get that person, then it's like fantastic and great. So.
Okay, I'll take it. I mean, she was my favorite character. So
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. She was a great character. I think fantastic. Again, she is one of those people, I would say that, especially when you look at the 90s time, and she was in so many things, as you mentioned at the beginning, there's so many actors from that era that are just so phenomenal, but just haven't got to that, like, well, Michelle Williams, Oscar nominated multiple times stage. And now she's become an amazing writer and director as well.
Yeah.
Like, I'm hoping that she's going to be nominated someday for an Oscar, whether it's for acting, writing, or directing. Like, she deserves it.
Yeah. And she does like queer stuff now that she's kind of established herself. Like, she did the Tegan and Sarah show that they filmed in
Yes,
here.
yeah.
She directed that. So that's pretty cool.
Tegan and Sarah coming to WordFest.
What's WordFest?
It's like a literary Comic-Con type thing.
Interesting.
And
Cool.
they've got a graphic novel coming out. And so they're going to be here October 20th, a reading and Q&A and everything. So
Right on. Are you going to moderate that?
I want to. Probably not. But we're going to try. We'll see what we can do.
Cool. That's cool.
Tegan, Sarah, hey, hook me up.
Play the ball. Hit me up.
Yeah. All right. Final question. As always, what's awesome?
Oh, God. I was
You
like, what is the final
know
question? I
this.
forgot. What's awesome? Can it be like anything?
Anything. Absolutely anything. It'd be a movie, food, TV show, person.
Okay, well, I'm gonna be political.
Okay. Do it.
I found out this morning that Scotiabank divested over 50% from a manufacturer that's arming Israel. So I thought that was really great news because there's been a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Scotiabank. I know there's been a lot of protests in Calgary for that. So I think that was awesome. That was something nice to read this morning.
That is super awesome. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, free Palestine.
Yes.
Forever and always.
Forever and always. 100%. I agree with that. The world right now, I'm like, I don't understand.
Yeah, you get whiplash if you think about it too hard.
Yeah, it's a lot. But this was super fun. Okay. We're going to be back. We're going to figure it out, but I will let everybody know October, there will be a queer horror movie. We're figuring that out right now. If you have any suggestions, please let us know. Instagram, PTW Craig, Passing Time with Craig on Facebook and Instagram, or passingtimewithcraig@gmail.com. Zareen will be back for a special Halloween. I love Halloween. You love Halloween, right?
I love Halloween.
Yeah, I was going to say you love scary movies and all that stuff. So I'm really excited to see what we come up with for that. And ideally we find something that neither of us watch.
Yes.
And it could be really crap, or it might be in honor of one of our favorite podcasts, How Did This Get Made?
Yeah.
Or it's going to be great.
I think, with the Halloween movies, there's a lot of really bad shit that was made. So it might be a good time to pick something we haven't seen and just tear it apart.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I love doing this with you.
Yeah, I can't wait for the next one. It's going to be great. Thank you all for passing time with me. Follow me on social media, like I said, Passing Time with Craig, and we'll chat soon. Bye.